Janet has been in a very slow decline ever since this huge nerf, but now with Hypercharge it got 100% way worser. But what caused her to go from the best brawler to one of the worst brawlers in the game? Well, let's dive into the history of Janet. On May 2, 2022, Janet was released alongside her tier 70 skin, Valkyrie Janet. She was pretty balanced and released, having a very solid gadget, Drop the Base, which had 1500 health and decayed only 75 instead of 100 per second. This gadget used to be able to be used while she was using her super. Her other stats are very similar than the present stats, but are slightly higher. Now the thing that was making her not go to one of the best brawlers in the game is how long it takes to focus her attack. Since her second star power wasn't present at the time, she was stuck just revealing bushes with her super, so she wasn't that good right away. But this problem got fixed pretty dang quickly. On the 25th, the second star power was released, and this star power made her break the game. This star power ends up focusing her main attack 30% more quicker, which is insane value for a brawler like Janet. But of course, not everything implemented to Janet can be broken, because 5 days later on the 30th, the backstage pass gadget got added. It was pretty balanced, unlike her first, being able to dodge attacks, but of course this gadget didn't really get used. Her first one has way too much value, and she basically already have a mechanic to run away from her enemies, so this barely affected her. For about a month, they let Janet stay broken, but on the 29th of June, they started to do something. They decided to give a nerf to her gadget, so now she can't use it while flying. This kinda did affect her, but it barely affected her. Some other things she received was her true silver and gold skins, which probably only Janet mains bought, and her main super attack effects were reworked. Overall, Janet was still very strong because the new chromatic OSAS season wasn't really that good at the time. Now fast forwarding to August 31, they gave some small nerfs. First, a 200 health decrease, and her super now requires 6 shots instead of 5. This did actually end up affecting her, and because of some brawlers like Sam and Poco being broken in that season, she actually fell off a few tiers but still being the S tier. Going into October on the 25th, they fixed several issues. One with her Drop the Base gadget's visual effect still being there after teleporting, and an aiming issue with her second gadget. With no changes, she was pretty solid still. A month later on November the 14th, her 29 gem skin G-Force Janet was released. Now this was the final change she received in 2022, so let's see how she does in the final meta of this year. Well, the last meta was very chaotic. We all know that it was very unbalanced with Chester and Gray breaking the game. Alongside that, Janet started to get way more easier to counter since players got very used to playing against her. So she actually ended up going down to the A tier, but she was still very solid. Alright, going into the current year of 2023. The first change she received was on February 28th, where her brawler class got changed from damage dealer to marksman. With no changes to her stats, she was very solid. Actually going back to the S tier because this meta was a bit more balanced with no crazy broken brawlers. 2 months after, on April 1st, the 79 gem skin Popstar Janet was released, and this was probably one of the best Janet skin at the time. Anyways, Janet was pretty solid in this meta, still being the S tier, and this was actually the last time she ended up staying in this current tier, because starting here the decline really begins. On May 15th, she received a health nerf for 200, which barely affected her. A month later, on June 6th, she received a lot of nerfs. She got 60 damage nerf for her main attack. She now requires 7 instead of 6 attack to charge her super, and her Drop the Base gadget health got decreased to 1000, and now will decay 100 health instead of 80 per second. And these nerfs actually affected her a ton. She was still decent, but it made her go down to the bottom of the A tier. Heading towards on July on the 4th, her 149 gem skin Dark Fairy Janet was added. The skin ended up actually causing a visual bug with her default skin. Her winning animation would actually be Dark Fairy Janet's animation, not her default, which was pretty cool while it lasted. On September 5th, her super visual effect ended up getting a rework, and the winning animation issue got fixed. This meta ended up being really bad for Janet. The nerfs are still affecting her, and the brawlers that are really good are making Janet very viable in competitive plays, which led her down to the D tier. But at least they started a streak on releasing Janet skins, because on September 30th, Lunar Janet was released, costing 199 gems. This skin is honestly really insane with the projectiles. And that's the complete history of Janet. If you enjoy, make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.